Hello everybody, this is Dr. Frank Gomez once again. Oops, I forgot my microphone. That's a lot better, I guess. Anyways, like I said, I'm Dr. Frank Gomez. Today's Tuesday, 12 o'clock-ish. Seems these Tuesdays seem to roll really fast now, and I'm here at the, okay, I have another blank. I think I'm getting too old. The Wellness Connection here. Okay, we're at the Wellness Connection on Tuesday, 12 o'clock here on churchtalkradio.com. And my office is Total Health Wellness Center. We're located in Sayville. To be more specific, it's 4844 Sunrise Highway in Sayville. The phone number there is 631-991-3492. During the talk today, if you ever want to call up, make an appointment to come in for a consultation, and we can discuss any kind of health problem that you might be experiencing and see if there's something that we can help you with. Okay? Regarding phone numbers, the phone number here is 631-766-9931. If you want to call up and if you have a question about what we're talking about or basically anything, that's something we can discuss as well. So today I wanted to talk about worldwide health problems. And there are sure a lot of them, right? So, every week I do some research and I print up a newsletter and I write down a lot of things on there. So some factual information and not just me talking. And so here we go. All right. So is the healthcare crisis due to a lack of insurance, because a lot of people don't have insurance, or is it that we just have too many sick people, right? There was a new study that found that worldwide health problems, over 95% of population have health problems. And over a third of those 95% are living with 5 or more health conditions. And a lot of that has to do with, obviously, the economy and the stresses that we all under every day. Everybody needs to pay their bills, and and things are so expensive. And stress breaks our bodies down over time. I mean, that's definitely one of the things, But there is a way to live healthier, and hopefully live in that 5% that are just plain old flat out healthy all the time. So the question kind of is, do you want to live longer? Kind of a stupid question. Everybody would like to live longer. But, there's good news and bad news to that. The good news is, on average, we are living a longer life. In fact, according to the health report by the Department of Health and Human Services, in 2010, life expectancy at birth in the United States, right, we're just talking about the United States right now, is on an average 78.7 years. Now, that was about 8 years ago. It might be a little bit more by now. 76.2 years for the males and 81 years for the females. So the females live a little longer. Kind of reminds me of a joke, which I'm not going to say, because then I'll probably get a lot of comments. So it's not only that, over the last 10 years, life expectancy has increased 2.1 years for males and 1.7 years for females. So the actual gap between the males and females have actually decreased as women have taken on more of the responsibilities of running the family, dealing with stress, doing a lot of things the men used to do, right? Smoking, drinking, and whatever else has taken its toll on their bodies as well. So, and then before we get to some bad news, there's an opinion, right? Would you rather live a long life, or would you rather live a healthy life? That's important actually to look at, because to be healthy and doing things you love, all right, or just to be alive, do you want to be live long or be sick and miserable? It's a crazy thing. The medicine has definitely increased our lives, and that was their job. Let's take human beings, and we want to make them live longer, but it never said anything about what quality of life that we were going to have, right? We were just going to live longer. Again, let's see another study here by the Global Burden of Disease Study. I've never even heard of that before. Just 1 in 20 people worldwide, about 4.3% of the world's population, had no health problems. So that's kind of a sad thing, right? So during that same year, 1/3 of the world's population experienced more than 5 ailments again. So most of us live with at least one unhealthy ailment, condition, whatever you want to call it. And then out of that, some of us live with multiple things there. Moreover, the research shows that worldwide, the proportion, this is a little harder to understand. Actually, I had to read this twice. The proportion, actually, I'm lying. I had to read it a lot twice before I got it. The proportion of lost years of healthy life due to illness rather than death rose to around a fifth. So around 21% of people living with unhealthy from 1990 to around now rose from 21% to 31% of the population. So, and it's going to keep going unless the government wakes up and sees what's going on. And again, we talked about this a little bit. We kind of hit on it all the time. And the government's all about the money. Show me the money. They really don't care too much about the citizens as a government as a whole. I'm not talking about individuals here, like the AMA and pharmaceutical, big pharma, same thing. So as the world population grows and the proportion of elderly people grows, of course, we're going to get older. The baby boomers were all getting older, so that just takes the population age and increases that. So, ill health and disability around the world is going to continue to get a little older as everybody else gets older. But here's something that's kind of important. The report talks about years lived with disability, right? So years lived with disability for both sexes. Now, this is worldwide, so these numbers might be a little bit hard. They kind of blew me away. 57.6 million in 1990 to 764 million now people that live with disabilities, not just illnesses, just plain old disabilities, that keep you from doing your normal daily activities. So what do you call? Here are I'm gonna some more points. First, to understand that we're living longer for a number of reasons, but we're also living the years less and less healthy. So, part of it has to do with what we ingest. The foods that have become so tainted that with chemicals, herbicides, chemicals, and insecticides, hormones, and all kinds of things, just to make them grow faster. And the soil itself is depleted. They don't give plants long enough to grow. They feed them with their plant food, whatever you want to call it, fertilizer, and the roots don't dig down deep enough. Right, so they're not digging down deep enough. They're not getting enough nutrition. But also because the roots aren't digging down deep enough into the ground, the water is not getting down deep enough. So the top layers are just continuously, they're dry, that they have no nourishment, there's nothing there. And then the foods that we eat, again, even if they weren't infected with all these chemicals, they still wouldn't be nutritious for us. But we just have to make better choices with that. In the office, again, the office name is Total Health Wellness Center, and we're in Sayville. One of the things we like to do is educate the people that come in. And they come in with all kinds of things, all kinds of conditions that we're talking about here. Thyroid conditions, hypercholesterolemia, having issues with trying to lose weight, stomach issues, gut issues, leaky gut syndrome, even cognitive abilities. Like there's some people walking around, everybody gets it once in a while, you're kind of living in a fog, So anyway, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, lack of physical activity, poor nutrition, tobacco use, and excessive alcohol consumptions are responsible for so much of the illnesses, suffering, and early death related to chronic diseases. You take strawberries for example. Everybody likes strawberries. For most of us, I love strawberries, but strawberries are one of the most toxic fruits that you could buy. Why? Because not only do we like them, the insects like them. So they spray them down with their roundabout, the things that you use on your lawns to kill the weeds, is what they're using to kill the weeds on the plants, right? And so what they do is they have to create these super plants, right? And they call them GMOs, right? So they're genetically modified organisms, and creates a tougher shell on a lot of the strawberries. Tomatoes are also in that level, and this way the insects don't bother with them as much. What happens is when insects eat a GMO food, it causes chemical reactions inside the stomach of the insects, and the insects explode, just literally explode. So, obviously we're not exploding, but by the same token, how many of us walk around bloated all the time? I was one of those people for a long time, until I started doing some research several years ago and looking into all this stuff. I'd get up in the morning, I'd be fine, I'd sit down, have a nice breakfast, and I'd be like, whoa, my stomach just gained like 2 inches, from just the food I was eating. So now we're looking at organics, right? Non-GMO foods, as healthy as we possibly can get them, and again, now that, again, the government's stepping in and seeing what's going on. So now what are they doing? Right? All the foods that we need to eat that are more healthy, they're increasing all the prices, right? And so they can make more money. And, I think some of the farmers, too, are doing the same things, and believe me, I have no issue with 3% of the world's population being farmers, and they're feeding the entire world. God bless them. Let them make their money. But the government should do a better job with trying to control costs in the things that we buy. They're at least 25% more, maybe. And like, again, tomatoes. I buy tomatoes, those little red tomatoes. Right? And you got to be careful with those, because that's a whole story. They have these things called lectins in them, which is a protein, and our bodies can't handle that. Even the organic ones. I don't know how, it's craziness, and it causes gut interruptions, and you can't digest your food, and you can't absorb the nutrients. So, yeah, I still eat them, but I don't eat as much as I used to. You're kind of looking at the tomatoes and a lot of the dark leafy greens, like, and even eggplants. I love eggplants. And I was like, oh, man, it too? Yeah, what the heck, man? What the heck can I eat around here? Healthy choices. You make a lot of better of the healthy choices, you'll be a lot better off. Even if you can't do the organics, right? Stay away from processed foods, Stay away from the sugars and the salts. When you go to the supermarkets now, they tell you to stay in the end caps, right? And just pick and choose off of there. But they actually have now, everybody's, again, big pharma and the big businesses now are starting to see that people are starting to wake up to what they've been ingesting, and they have, they have aisles of organic foods now. I know there's a whole aisle in Stop and Shop called Nature's Promise, and there's everything there, for even dog food. They got organic dog food. And don't think that's an issue. Dogs get as sick as we do now because they basically are eating the same things we are. I have a little dog at home, a little puggle, and I mentioned this on one of the talk shows, but he developed diabetes. You can get diabetes from a lot of things, increased amounts of sugar, You figure, oh, it's a dog, I'll buy dog food, right? Well, if you actually read the dog food that you're feeding them, you wouldn't really feed them that dog food. From reading just the labels, actually I found out that Kirkland is actually better. It's better than Purina. It's better than all the name brands. Because all those name brands, they say byproducts, byproducts, byproducts. I don't even know what a byproduct is. That means after you take all the good stuff off, the shit that you, oh man, I said a bad word. I'm going to get fired in church. I'm going to get fired. All the stuff that you throw out in the garbage, that's what they're probably using to make these foods. I get a little passionate about these things. So anyway, he developed diabetes, and of course we got to put him on insulin, and now he's blind. And that does happen to human beings as well. A lot of humans, when they have diabetes, because of their high blood sugar, you get the insulin, and then they become blind because if you think about it, where the sugar goes is everywhere. It's jammed into every single cell in our body, and even if we don't need it, it's getting jammed in there anyways. And one of the most sensitive cells in our bodies are the ones in our eyes. And so those are the things that start to get damaged to the point where they don't really work anymore, and you go blind. Neuropathies, how many diabetics lose like toes and fingers, and it goes on and on from there. And the whole simple thing is that it can be prevented just from a good, healthy diet, supplementation, and knowing, and education, and knowing where you go from. If anything, the people that come into the office, they leave, they may not say, they decide they don't want to use the program right away, but they're definitely more educated on, what to eat and what to do for exercise and how to get themselves at least a little bit more healthier. Where was I on this? Got a little sidetracked, but not really. Okay, so not only that, the World Health Organization estimates that if the major risk factors of chronic disease were eliminated, at least 80% of all instances of heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes would be prevented. And we kind of touched upon that. And also cancer would be decreased. One of the things that most people don't understand, because they've never been told, cancer cells cannot produce their own energy. Like our cells produce their own energy in these things called mitochondria inside the cells, which are these energy storehouses and warehouses where they produce these things called ATP. We make energy. That's a whole long thing, but that's basically what it is. Cancer cells cannot make their own energy, and that's why they have to get it from the blood. And it's what do they live on? They live on sugar. Right? They need sugar to convert it into energy. So what the cancer cells are doing is they're actually manufacturing these thoughts in your head that you need to eat this so they could stay alive. Another thing cancer cells don't do, there are no boundaries. Right? If we have boundaries with our cells, skin cells are skin cells, kidney cells are kidney cells, heart cells are heart cells. They can go anywhere. And the matter of fact is, if you're eating well, odds are, cancer, like it even says here, is going to decrease. And then there's a lot of factors that are involved with that. Some of us work in such horrible places, and chemicals everywhere, But for the most part, if you're eating well, you're exercising, you're giving your body healthy nutrition, your pH levels are good, and then cancer cells aren't going to proliferate, because we all have cancer cells every day. But our bodies keep them under control, and then they destroy them. So let's see. Let's give you some more statistics here from the CDC. So 610,000 people die from heart disease in the United States. That's like 1 in 4. So if you know 5 people, on an average, one of those people, unfortunately, are going to pass from heart disease. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in both men and women. Coronary heart disease is the most common type of disease, killing 370,000 people annually. Now, coronary heart disease is the capillaries around the heart, are those very small blood vessels that feed your heart. So as they start to bog down and get clogged up with whatever it is they get clogged up with, that can cause what they call coronary heart disease. So, and that's also a growing thing, which is not really too cool. Anyways, while we're talking about this on Facebook Live, if you have any comments, you can leave them below, and I will definitely get back to you. Again, this is churchtalkradio.com. They have a lot of great information. You go on the website and just check archives, and you can find not only my information, but other things as well that would be interest to a lot of people. Well, there's some facts, too, about the diabetes that I pulled out. From 1980 to now, the number of adults in the United States 18 to 79 with newly diagnosed diabetes more than tripled. So in 1980, 490,000 people were diagnosed with diabetes. And now it's 1.4 million. So that's a tripling. And that's only the people that are diagnosed. 25% of the people in America right now have full-blown diabetes or pre-diabetic, and they don't even have a clue. They don't really understand what some of the symptoms are, or they're just really too early in it to find that out. You know, one of the cool things that we do in the office, and we do it as far as the wellness program goes, is we take blood work. And we take a very comprehensive blood work. We check every organ in your body and see how everything is functioning. And then we find out where you're deficient. And then we feed those deficiencies to build your body naturally. And I'm not going to say cured, because we don't treat anything. Right? In the office, we won't treat heart problems, we don't treat kidney problems, liver problems, we don't treat diabetes, we don't treat ADD. What we do is, the hope is that we get your body strong enough where either we can decrease your medication, or it can be actually eradicated from your life forever. But we don't do that. You know, we didn't put you on the medication. We're not taking you off. It has to go hand in hand with your medical professional who has you on whatever it is that you're taking. So, you know, diabetes is the fastest growing condition in the world. And what was I watching the other day? On Netflix. Netflix is cool. They got a lot of cool documentaries on there. There's something called The Magic Pill. And it talks about a lot of the things that we're talking about here. And they were doing some interview with a tribe. It's like the oldest tribe in the world. It's like 40,000 years old or whatever. And most of those people actually have diabetes, and they die from all these ailments that we have now. And so some of these investigators or researchers went to find out what was going on. And then the first thing they show you is like they're eating potato chips, and they have these bottles of Sprite. And
they got infected by the general culture.
Yeah, you know, it's like industrialization has infected them to the point, you know, they don't do what they used to do. So that they put together a program with some of the elders, and they had them go back for 2 weeks. You know, go back and cook the food the way they used to do, kill the food. Everything was like fresh. And it was pretty wild. They put it, I don't know what they put it in, and they folded it up. They covered it with dirt, and it was on fire while it was under the dirt or whatever, and they ate the food that way. And there was this one woman where she was overweight, but she also had some sicknesses, and she was walking, but she couldn't talk while she walked. Like, she couldn't get enough oxygen into her system to do both. And at the end of 2 weeks, they showed her. She was dancing, she was singing, and this is only 2 weeks, you know, and they had an autistic child on there too, basically the same thing. You know, all she would eat was fried chicken nuggets and goldfish, and, you know, that's what parents gave them because it's the only thing they eat. But, you know, it took a lot of work, but after only like 5 weeks, she was more interactive. She actually spoke for the first time ever. She was 5 years old. So a lot of things can turn around when you change your diet and you get information. You need the correct information. And, you know, my daughter has Crohn's disease, and she developed this a long time ago, and she has the colostomy bag. And she has a really, really good doctor in the city, Dr. Agnami, I think his name is. I said it right. But, you know, one of the things I wasn't too happy with is that after, he did. He saved her life. I mean, and I'm so grateful for that. But after she got to the point where he thought she was well enough, he said to her, oh, you can basically eat anything you want now. And just, what?
Don't go back.
I was like, what? You can't tell a 20-year-old kid, that you can eat anything you want. She said, Crohn's disease is an autoimmune disease, and it thrives on sugar. And she has a sweet tooth. And I mean, goodness, it's a hard thing. So, let's see. So if you're currently part of the 5% and being healthy, and that's great. If you're not, then it's time to make some changes. And they're lifestyle changes. Start eating healthier. Start exercising each day. And take a short walk if you have to. Like the woman on that the magic pill, and the woman on the magic pill in that documentary on Netflix, right? She just started doing little walks and eating better. So I hope this was some information that you can absorb. You can always go to my website, totalhealthwellnesscenter.com, and you can plug in worldwide health problems and weight loss or whatever, and letters that we have there for your for your understanding and information. So again, this is Dr. Frank Gomez, Total Health Wellness Center and Church Talk Radio, and we will be back next week at 12 o'clock ish. And I think we're going to have a guest next week, motivational speaker, personal development person. I'm not sure yet 100%, but that would be kind of cool. So until then, again, signing off, Dr. Frank Gomez. Thank you very much for your time.